Hello, everybody. Matthew with Parkway Business Solutions. And we wanted to make a video today talking about payroll and how payroll has been impacted with the recent COVID-19 outbreak, specifically for small businesses and their employees as to up to date, what can they do to get funds? How can they pay their employees? And well, for employees, how they can get paid. Now, just yesterday, the Department of Labor finally published their first guidelines as to how this should proceed forward. Now, I use the word guidelines on purpose because this may change over a short period of time. It seems to be changing almost day to day to day. There's good news and there's bad news. The bad news first is that the guidelines themselves specifically state that the effective date that's going to be important is April 1st. So what that will mean is all the things I'm about to share with you will come into play as of April 1st, and anything prior to that, i.e. the time we're in now, is not beholden to this. So I've created a bit of a presentation. Instead of trying to have people go through and read multiple different websites like this and trying to understand these different details, we've created a presentation we're going to share with you right now to try to help simplify how this process will work. So what we're talking about is the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. Who is included within this FFCRA? Both employers and employees. Like, how does that part of it work? And what we're specifically talking about at this time is federal assistance. So from state to state to state, you may have other programs that can help you locally, but this is the federal assistance portion of it. Additionally, this is not part of the bill they're working on for the $2 trillion economy booster. This is independent of that, so that may impact how this is done as well. So what it is basically is it requires certain employers to provide their employees with paid sick or family leave for specific reasons relating to COVID-19. As I had stated before, these provisions will apply from April 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2020, unless otherwise noted. Who's covered? There are basically two different pathways that somebody could be covered. The first is if they are directly impacted, where the employee is unable to work because they are either quarantined or they are experiencing COVID-19 symptoms and is seeking medical diagnosis. Or if a person is taking care of another individual, if they have a bona fide reason why they need to take care of an individual that's subject to quarantine, or if they have to care for a child who's under 18 years of age. If their school or childcare provider is closed or unavailable for reasons related to COVID-19, this would be an example. Now, the key difference is between these two. When it's a person that's been impacted directly, in other words, again, they're the ones that are ill or experiencing the symptoms, they are eligible for up to 2 weeks or 80 hours of paid sick time at the employee's regular rate of wage. Very, very important. If the employee needs to take time off to take care of somebody else, they are still eligible for 2 weeks or up to 80 hours, but it is at 2/3 of the regular pay. Employees who fall under this category and have also been with the company for more than 30 days have additional paid sick leave opportunities available to them. If an employee has worked with the company for more than 30 days, they're eligible for an additional 10 weeks of paid family leave, still at the 2/3 of the employee's regular rate of pay. This is going to apply to any public or private employers with less than 500 employees. This is very specifically directed towards that small business, almost medium-sized business itself. And this basically is taking out the government entities aspect of it because they have their own policies which they would follow. So most small businesses are going to fall right inside of this. There are some exemptions, and I caution people on using this. I mean, obviously every small business owner is going to desire to keep employees and keep things going forward. And there is the opportunity that small businesses with fewer than 50 employees may qualify for an exemption from the requirement to provide a leave due to school closings or childcare unavailability if the leave requirements would jeopardize the viability of the business as a going concern. In other words, if having to pay this out and having to lose those people may be the end of your business, you may have an exemption and you would need to reach out to the appropriate entities to try to find out what you can do. So ultimately, with that information, there are 6 qualifying reasons a person can take leave. I've organized them here on purpose where the top 3, these are ones that are really more, again, that the person has been directly impacted by it in comparison to the lower ones where it's more they're caring for someone else. On the next slide I'm about to show you, it's going to be a table. It's an ugly table of information, but it's done this way on purpose to try to help give you a better concept of exactly what is available or not in comparison to the way it was laid out on the website. So on here, you'll notice the first column is giving you the different reasons which we saw previously. For example, employees subject to federal, state, or local quarantine or isolation order related to COVID-19. Now, I had a question previously about the word isolation. Shelter at home is not considered isolation. Isolation is you're ill, you're not allowed to be around people, can't go to work, so forth. If this is your reason for leave, then a full-time employee would be eligible for 80 hours of paid sick leave, while a part-time employee would be eligible for the average number of hours worked over a 2-week period. In both scenarios, employees taking leave shall be paid either the regular rate of pay or the applicable minimum wage, whichever is higher, up to $511 per day and a maximum of $5,110 in the aggregate over a 2-week period. It's our hope that this presentation makes it a little bit easier for everybody to recognize where the variances are. Where the real change in this comes into play is into like number 5, where you start to see where you're caring for a child whose school or place of care is closed. I mean, I'm really glad to see that they're doing this because it's fundamental for family. This is where you'd be eligible for 12 weeks at 40 hours per week. So the amount of hours, still 40 hours per week. Part-time employees they'd be eligible for the normal number of hours they would have been scheduled to work. And it's still at 2/3 of the regular rate when you're doing it for this reason. So really study this one, it's important. Now, how is all of this going to get paid for? And this is probably one of the biggest questions when it comes to our business owner clients. Ultimately, the way this works is all covered employers will qualify for a dollar-for-dollar reimbursement through tax credits. What that means, these wages are going to fall on the business to pay immediately. It will not be, from my understanding of the way this is read, you would receive those tax credits when you're filing your business taxes for the 2020 year. So this is where the extra policies and things that Congress are working on are really going to have to come into play, because I do understand there's going to be a lot of small businesses that are going to be very challenged to continue to pay these wages if they don't have the revenues coming in the door. But this is how it's set up. Dollar for dollar reimbursement through tax credits for all qualifying wages paid under the FFCRA. One thing I do like about this is it does talk about the fact that the applicable tax credits also will take care of and cover any health insurance coverage, which is very important. Qualifying wages are those, it does also talk, of course, about the qualifying wages being paid to an employee who takes leave. It's up to that appropriate amount of per diem or aggregate cap, like we talked about back here, that amount per day. Unfortunately, this act falls short, especially for states such as Washington, California, and New York, which have already been impacted by COVID-19, and more specifically, have been following the guidelines of stay well at home or shelter at home. In these scenarios, there are instances where employees may not have been going to work for as early as March 1st, which leaves them almost a month of time that this would not cover them with the effective date of April 1st. While these resources may not be available at the federal level, it is suggested that you should reach out to your state officials to find out what's available in your state. For example, California does have policies in place which allow you to use your prior accrued sick time. Now, I spent some time on the phone with the Department of Labor, or an associate with the Department of Labor specifically, trying to better understand where their limitations or their caps of 80 hours comes into play. They made it sound like if you had your own sick time policy, it would be you would only have the maximum of 80 hours. You couldn't use both. While I cannot comment specifically on this, and I recommend people to do their own research onto it, from conversation, it appeared to say that, especially in California right now, you have the ability that an employee can use their sick time and any vacation time they've earned before that goes into place. And then that when that law becomes law, they would still have those 80 hours. I bring this up as hopefully a way that some of the small business owners out there will be able to still find ways to compensate or help their employees find compensation at this really, really important time. Now, if you fall into one of these scenarios where you have been sheltering at home before this April 1st deadline, and you find that you need additional resources to help you get between this bridge period of time, we suggest that you reach out to your state, to the proper agencies, to find out what they have available for you. Now, speaking about California specifically, since that's where we are located, in California, the governor already has waived the 1 week waiting period before wages can be earned. So what this does is any employee who's been unable to work because they've been exposed to COVID-19 can file a disability insurance claim. Disability provides short-term benefit payments to eligible workers who have full-time or part-time loss of wages. When you work with the Department of Labor and you do a family, paid family leave type of a scenario, the moment that starts, it then goes, I believe it's 26 weeks, but from a specific amount of time, it goes forward from there. There is no pausing it halfway and say, for this number of weeks, I wish to use my unemployment. Now I want to pause that. Now I want to use this one. You can't do that. So if things are overlapping, you could actually be eliminating your ability to collect longer. The stuff we're showing you now on the screen here, this is all, again, California based. If an employee exhausts sick leave, can other paid leave be used? Yes, if an employee does not qualify to use paid sick leave or has exhausted their sick leave, other leave may be available. There's a great section here that's all Q&A questions that I definitely recommend going through, and we'll make this available for everybody, of course. So ultimately, at this time, we know that this is not the easiest time for all business owners out there. We know it's going to be difficult to get through. Please know that Parkway Business Solutions is doing everything we can. We are checking every day, researching every day to find out what venues there are to help get funding back in the door for the businesses that we work with. There are other opportunities to fill your cash coffers, if you will, by deferring certain taxes, such as sales tax currently in the state of California can be deferred, or you can request a delay for up to 90 days. In certain scenarios, we are suggesting with clients, we're still waiting for the CDTFA to make this process easier, but we are suggesting to clients that you may want to reach out, talk to the CDTFA, make sure that you can try to get those delays, if for no other reason, to get the cash flow sitting in the bank account and as a safety measure. Keep in mind, any of these deferrals, any of these things that you do, whether it's reaching out to your landlord and paying less, not paying the rent at this time, that is all still money owed. So if you go about it that way, we strongly recommend that you have a separate bank account than you usually use. Take all of the money that you would have taken to pay that bill and you stick it into that account. You do that and you hold it aside. You do not spend it unless it's necessary, because you will continue to owe that money otherwise. If you haven't already reached out to us about the SBA loans, we recommend doing so. We'd like to remind you to get this started ASAP. It is a timely process, and we have a great video on how to go through the whole thing on our YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, you can find it at youtube.com/Parkway Inc. That's PARKWAYINC. I hope this information in regards to payroll has been helpful. If you've got additional questions, please reach out. Know that Parkway is here with you through this, and we will continue to do our best to make sure we get you more up-to-date information as quickly as possible. Thank you, and everybody, have a healthy week.